So just be mindful of that one. Welcome everybody. I have an apology from Andrea. Alan, can I have somebody move that apology be accepted? Thank you, John. Seconder? Thanks, Mark. All those in favour say aye. Those against? Carried. Any conflicts of interest tonight? No? Right, the minutes from the last meeting. Can I have somebody to move those minutes? Thanks, Mark. Seconder? No. Thank you, Philip. Got to be faster, Andrew. Any discussion around those? Right, all those in favour?
The reason I missed the first part of the meeting was actually working in my garden at the time. I misjudged the time, I can say.
Thank you for the apology, John.
Yeah.
Right, all those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against? That's carried. Any matters arising? We don't have any deputations and presentations. I don't think we've got any adjourned business. Reports. Joanne and Ali, welcome back again.
Good evening, everyone. So the purpose of this report is to update the board on the results from the speed limit consultation and obtain a recommendation for council. This consultation was carried out over a 3-week period, and the majority of respondents to this ward area favoured changes in Woodend-Sefton, with mixed results for the unsealed roads in Waikuku. Even with the mixed responses received for the roads in Waikuku, we're still recommending that these roads are reduced to 60 km per hour. All of these roads are narrow and have varying roadside hazards, including areas where there are minimal sight distance. The mean operating speed is also under 40 km per hour on all of the roads, and therefore a reduction in speed limit will have little effect on the road users. It is recommended that the board recommends to the council that the posted speed limits on all the roads listed in tables 1 to 3 are amended. Happy to take any questions.
Right, questions, anybody?
Hi Ali, could you just confirm that all the roads in Waikuku are unsealed?
Yes, they are.
Right, thank you.
I have one question around, as always comes out with speed limit reviews, people raise other roads. One of the residents of Sefton raised Lower Sefton Road, particularly he lives on the corner of Toppings Road and Lower Sefton Road. School bus stops there to pick students up. It's 100 k's that road, and that's the one with the S-bends, and it is very shaded in the winter. Early mornings is not great along that road. Is that going to be looked at any time in the future? They compared it to Gresson's Road, and said, Gresson's Road got dropped to 80. It is still busy along that road because there are more commuters now, more people, as Sefton changes in its dynamic. So there's, land's getting subdivided, people are moving out from Christchurch and commuting into Christchurch.
So as part of the current review of the setting of speed limit rules, there are some changes that are going to be coming up or legislated, likely to be early next year at some stage, on how speed limits are set. And as part of that, there will be a requirement for councils to develop and implement a speed management plan, which will look at how councils will do a staged addressing of speed limits across the district over a period of about 10 years. And so that aligns with the Road to Zero strategy, which is looking at trying to reduce harm from accidents on roads and setting safe and appropriate speeds. So that's probably the long way of saying yes, we will be looking at the district. We need to look at the district wider in terms of whether there are roads we want to upgrade to keep at 100 and whether there are roads we feel need to be brought down to the 80. So yeah, we'll be looking at the entire district.
Thanks, Joanne. 2 other questions. Tulls Road, what's happening with that one? Because that came to the last speed limit review, I think.
Yeah, and it's not included in this one. It will be a future review, and with that one we'll also need to look at whether we upgrade
Yep.
to keep a higher speed, because I'm pretty sure, Ali, correct me if I'm wrong, it had a safe and appropriate of 60, but we didn't feel that that was appropriate for the environment, so what it might need is some work in locations to support the 80.
And one other question, back to Sefton. What do we have to do to get a variable speed sign outside the school for during school hours? A 40k flashing.
Sefton School.
Yeah.
Okay. So we will have a look at Sefton. Is that on the main road that you're talking about?
Yeah.
So that is part of the reduction, obviously bringing the speed down. We also, as part of the setting of speed limit rule and the bringing safe and appropriate speeds around schools, we also have to implement a program for the entire district of how we will get our highest risk schools down to either 30 or 40 kilometres outside the schools for urban areas, and I think it was 60 for rural. So again, we'll be developing over the next year a plan for what that's going to look like and how we're going to go about doing that. So that will very much be on our radar as part of that exercise.
Yeah. Because the school's at the northern end,
Yes.
so it's very relatively close to the 100-kilometre speed area.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of trucks on that road. So
Yeah.
it is an issue that's been raised quite a few times.
Yeah, that's
various
right. And I
members
think
of the
Kathy
board.
had been out to see the school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions from anyone? You look like you're thinking, Mark. No question? No? Well, I would like to move that we accept all of those speed limit changes. So A to E. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Mark. I am moving that simply because I think the speed limits make sense. We have talked about areas like Copper Beach for some time, Copper Beach Road, Evergreen Place, around Gladstone Road, Petrie's Road, is becoming more urbanised. We can't have the existing speed limits, it is just not safe. With the unsealed roads round Waikuku, the feedback was mixed, but I also think, who goes 100 kilometres an hour down an unsealed road? It's not safe, particularly around Kaiapoi Priest's Road. That is used by cyclists and walkers because it gets used as a loop track between Pegasus, Waikuku, and they often go one way along the coastal track and then come back along Kaiapoi Pa Road. You've also got Kaiapoi Pa sitting there, so you've got an historical site where people like to be able to walk to it and see it. So for that reason, I would be approving them. Do you have anything you'd like to say, Mark? Anybody else? Philip?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be supporting the recommendation. My default position is leave speed limits alone unless there's some reason for justifying a reduction. And I have people saying to me, what's the point in putting in a submission? You've made your mind up. Well, I'd like to take the opportunity to assure those people that I've read all the submissions and have taken them all into account, as I think we probably all have. I am surprised at the Waikuku outcome because that to me is a bit of a no-brainer. 100 k's on the shingle road and the average speed, as Joanne said, is something in the order of 40 k's, so nobody's actually losing anything. One of the submitters did make a point which I think is sometimes valid, and that is that it's the condition of the road. Sometimes we're lowering the speed limit to avoid maintaining or upgrading the road. And I think that is a widely held view. It's not always true, but I'm inclined to think in some instances it may be. So that is something we should bear in mind. We don't want to slow the traffic down too much. It does make New Zealand less efficient if we go back to the days of John Key and the Road Transport Forum, I think it was. They don't like lower speed limits. It makes the economy less efficient. But there is a case, and I'm quite happy that these particular roads merit a reduction in speed.
Any other comments from anyone? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Those against? It's carried. I'd just like to say thank you very much for the report, but as I said to you just before, the consultation document was really, really good. It was well laid out. It was easy for people to see, and even if they did it online, you could get into the part that pertained. So, it can't have been easy because there was a lot of roads scattered all over the district, and I think it was a really good job. So, thank you. We'll let you go home. Where have we got grant for? What am I missing? Right, Kay, the meeting schedule.
Good evening, everyone. Your normal report at this time of the year, which is laying out your schedule for next year, you will see that I have made arrangements to meet at Sefton and at Waikuku, both of them in the early part of the year, mainly because both those are quite elderly buildings and summer is probably the best time to use them. So I will take any questions.
Questions from anyone? Can I have somebody to move? Thanks, Mark. Seconded by Andrew. Any comment, discussion? I'll just note that the February meeting is on a Tuesday, so just note that in your diaries rather than a Monday, because the Sefton Hall's used on a Monday night, isn't it? Yep, that's the reasoning. So I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against? It's carried. Right, correspondence. We had a thank you letter from the Life Education Trust, so it was a nice letter. Can I have somebody move that we received that correspondence? Thanks, John. Seconded by Philip. Any discussion, comments, John?
No, that's what I say, really good organisation, actually.
Any other discussion from anyone? Right, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Those against? That's carried. Right, Chair's report is there. Any questions from anyone? I'll put that to the vote. That is received. Oh, do I have a seconder? Sorry, better have a seconder. I'll move it. Thanks, Mark. Right, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Those against? That's carried. Matters for information is all laid out there. Any questions around any of those?
I just add like we had a couple of things into mind.
We're not there yet, John.
Oh, we're not there yet.
Nope.
Oh,
It's the next item. So we're actually at the matters for information. So it's the reports and documents that have come out from council. So I would move that we receive that information. Do I have a seconder? Thanks, Andrew. Any discussion? All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against? That's carried. Right, members' information exchange. John, we'll kick off with you.
To my list, I did attend the opening of the men's shed in Gladstone Park, and I also helped set up the Woodend Community Centre for the flower show. Yeah.
Pull it. Getting old and silly. The PC7 decision from the commissioners comes to an extraordinary meeting of ECAN on November the 17th, but it'll actually be out in the agenda on November the 11th, which is when we should be able to pick it up from the agenda. And I presume we'll have some response to that. I went along to the Ashley Rakahuri rating meeting, which they had earlier this year. Instead of, they usually have them all Sefton Town, Sefton, Ashley River. They usually have them in the February as an annual meeting, but because of the flood repair, they had it in the middle of the year. It was very poorly attended, I must say. There were 2 residents. The rest of them were all staff from ECAN, myself. So I'm not quite sure how widely the invite was circulated. I mean, it's of concern to this board because they're actually planning a review of the Ashley Rakahuri flood protection scheme. They've been doing it for a while, so it hasn't gone anywhere, but it was really sobering to see that at present that river is designed for a flow of 2,400 cumecs, and at 1,500 cumecs at Cones Road they were evacuating, and little Fred Brooks, who's the North Canterbury regional engineer, said if it had got anywhere near there they would have been, I think it was carnage was his word. So they've been recommended since, I think it's 2007 and again in 2000, it might have been 2003 and 2009, that the river should be able to take 3,000 cumecs, now updated to 3,250 cumecs. So it can't clearly, after just about falling apart with 1,500, and that was 1,000 at the gorge when the measuring device went out, and then coming in from Ohuku and the tributary rivers. So down at Cones Road it was 1,500, and we were in serious trouble. So they're proposing a review. In fact, they've already been under review, not that they've involved anybody, and there was quite a lot of it was brought up also round the zone committee table, and no one knew anything about it. So the criticism came back to ECAN was that then your consultation is poor if you are seriously looking at this, and it has rather large rating implications for people that are rated for the river, and also people that aren't rated for the river, and this is probably half the problem with it. And they're thinking, interestingly, which I don't support this, but they were, instead of tackling increasing the rating area for the river, they were talking about a general rate across the region. Now, we do that, and I don't support that either, in the sense that the people who are already rated for it pay twice, because they pay again in the general rate for this, and it's a technique. When you've got a challenge, well, this is my view, if you've got a challenge in extending a rating area, rather than tackle that, you do it in your general rate where it gets lost. And if you do it across the region, or across, well, in this case it'll be across the district, I suspect, it is lost, and you should be dealing with it front up, because the people who benefit from it pay for this. So I'm not quite sure exactly what ECAN's proposal is. It looks like it's under review. There's a build-up of shingle. There's exactly how they're going to manage the whole thing. and I don't know what their consultation program is. And in fact, I don't think they know, really. So just alerting everybody. I think they should have got the message that there was, the Water Zone Committee is the elected representatives of the community, and they knew nothing. So hopefully they got a bit of a message about they need to upgrade their consultation, when in fact it comes to the point where there's a proposal going out for rating. The other thing, I guess, is those of you that are part of an environmental group should have got an invite to the Waimakariri Environmental Action Networking Forum, on which I'm chairing on November the 24th. Now, it's only if you're a part of a group, and it'll be, Taranaki Creek should have got an invite. And that is to, across the district, inviting all community groups and agencies to try and get an understanding of what people are doing where, and whether we can assist in some collaborative way, or whether, no, not the council so much, but is there an ability to work together for a better outcome? We don't even know who's doing what in this district, so the idea is to invite everybody we can think of, and then have a round table about what are you doing, what constraints you have. Do you think it would be good to have this meeting as a regular sort of thing, set up a database, and can we work together for a better effect? So yeah, no, that's about me. Thank you.
Thank you. I attended a Zone 5 and 6 meeting in Christchurch last month, and that's from councillors and mayors around most of the South Island. The DIA were present, as was Alan Pragnell, who's the architect of the Three Waters reform, and his boss, when introducing Alan, referred to him as the Antichrist, which could have been appropriate because I think most people in the room appeared to be opposed to the reforms. Bill Bayfield, who is the water regulator, had a Zoom last month, which was quite interesting. I didn't know Bill Bayfield, but he seems an interesting fellow and pretty much a straight shooter from his presentation. Water plans which councils need to provide, it seemed to me, will be self-certified rather than being sent off somewhere to be marked and boxes ticked. So it sort of flipped the compliance around the other way. I've just come from a housing, social and affordable working group meeting, which Simon is also on. That group's looking at housing needs in the district, partnership opportunities and what options the council may have in that space. Neville Atkinson is the chair, the mayor, Wendy Doody, Nikki Mearlings and myself are the elected representatives on that, so we're still fairly early days with that group. At the last meeting earlier this month, council confirmed the representation review recommendation. There are no changes proposed to this ward or board, and that's gone to the Local Government Commission and is open for objections until the 8th of December. Unfortunately, the ENC Business Awards that I think I mentioned last month have been cancelled, along with the Kaiapoi and Rangiora Christmas parades and also Christmas by the Lake at Pegasus. So you'll miss out on the opportunity of seeing me in a Santa suit, in case you were wanting to see that. I attended some district plan review planner sessions. We had a good workshop, the board, on a submission to the district plan review. I thought that was quite a good session. Went to a GCP workshop which looked at spatial planning, and we're at a bit of a workshop to look at identifying growth areas around Canterbury where they may fall. I went to Mike O'Connell's farewell. Some of you may know Mike, he's left the council, and I think he's gone to ECAN, but not 100% sure. It is ECAN?
No, Ministry for the Environment.
Ministry for the Environment. I knew it was one of those environmental places. And the other news, Trevor Ellis is leaving us shortly to go to DOC, Department of Conservation. The good news was some of the council met MPs Duncan Webb and Sarah Pallett and gave them a presentation on Three Waters. So that was interesting. Sarah Pallett is now the buddy MP for this district. Previously it had been Duncan Webb. So Duncan must be busy. Sarah's new. So we do hope to have a closer dialogue with the Labour MPs and also MPs from the Greens, National and other parties to keep dialogue open. So that's more or less it from me.
I heard that we had the Woodend Community Association meeting last Monday night, and Chris Stacey's our new secretary, and he's going really well, so which is really good to get and he's right into it, going very good. We had to can the hangi because it due to COVID, which was a bit of a shame because it would have been our major thing. At the meeting we discussed roading again, which seems to come up every meeting, so it just doesn't really stop. So we, Dan Rosswarn, who's was a Labor, he wrote a letter to the Minister. It was quite funny. The letter he got back was like the standard letter everyone else gets, that he didn't even exist. Well, that's what I thought from reading the letter. So, which was interesting for a guy that's probably going to stand again in the next election. So, I think he's 2 off being a list MP. So, so if they got 2 resignations, he would be in there, which is. I had a call about someone wanting to get their place rezoned on Woodend Beach Road, the beginning to residential, and I didn't really know the answer, but I suggested that they contact the council or look at the planned. Also had a call about some rubbish being dumped in a hole at Jelfs Road, so I went down but couldn't get the snaps end solved to go, but I'll go back and do that again. So it looks like tyres and all sorts of, I don't know whether it's contaminated or not, but and went and measured the signs for Grant for the Welcome to Woodend sign, so I've given them the specs for or what we need for that, so that's work in progress, and also had good feedback on Stalker Park being opened, which is, I think people are really pleased. You've been down there and had a play, Andrew? Or?
No. Let me know when you go, Mark. Come along.
So than that, everything's good?
No, I've got nothing of any note to register, thank you.
What about your windows?
I'll just test some of your things, but hardly worth registering.
A question, just what's your overall sense of how the district plan is going in the community in terms of response to it, the draft proposed plan?
They got 21 here last week at the drop-in at Woodend Community Centre, which is actually very good, particularly for the Woodend Community Centre, because often we just seem to struggle to get people here.
Especially if they don't tell anyone.
There is that one. They're also going to be running 2 sessions next week in Pegasus.
Okay.
So one's on, oh God, now I can't remember. No, not next week. Yes, next week. Oh God, I'd have to remember, because they don't seem to want to publicise them either. One is at the Community Cuppa, which is on Wednesday, which is 10:45, and the 18th, is it? 16th, the 16th of November from 6 till 8 p.m. at the Pegasus Community Centre. So Kay got dragged in trying to organise that one. So yeah, it has been a wee bit of lots of hands and fingers in the pie, I think would be how I would describe it. And it has been, I could probably count it in hours how much time I have spent trying to get things organised and trying to figure out what is actually happening. There's the odd one who's looking at, zoning that I've heard of, Simon. At the moment, it's just such a big thing, and I think in general people, unless they are looking particularly at zoning, they're just, overwhelmed. I think there's just, yeah, between where we are in terms of COVID-19 and yeah, and it's not anybody's fault. I think it's just it's such a big beast of a thing that.
Just if you're hearing, if there's any sentiment out there about what's good, what's not good,
Yeah.
there's more a pattern assistant to individual property issues.
Yeah.
What's key to whether you pick up anything.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't even heard a lot around the, minimum lot size in a rural, environment. There hasn't been a lot around that, so.
Okay, thank you.
So that's right. The consultation projects, we have the district plan that is out, and that closes on Friday the 26th of November. I mean, Mark's done the right thing. If somebody has got a question, then direct them to the council to, they can contact a planner, they can meet with a planner. The planning department has been very good at that, of making themselves available to talk to individuals, so, yeah.
Is there somewhere that you can sort of look
Hang on just one moment, and then
to
I'll come
see,
to you.
like,
Can I ask people to speak up on here? I'm missing.
Oh, sorry, John.
So
I was just asking generally about the proposed district plan and whether you as elected members, sorry, I should have used that, whether there was any general comment out there in the community about issues that the proposed district plan has raised. Just wanted to get a sense of that. Perhaps beyond any individual property owner issues, is there anything that we should be aware of? But don't get the sense that is the case per se, and probably life with COVID and all that's gone with that is just starting to wear a bit on people's attentiveness to that issue.
Mark?
I just wondered, and I mean, it may be my lack of knowledge of where to look, but how do you look to see, obviously, if the zoning's changed on a particular land, how do you actually see that to try and map the whole picture of, and I'll give the example as Gladstone Road, so obviously Jeffrey Stockwell's old place is sold to that Barry Lilly, so that's zone residential. The next place along has sold to the same guy, which I presume that's zone residential, but I don't know how to see that, and I don't know where the planned extra residential, full 4A or 4B, but if someone can tell me how I look for that, because that would be something would be...
Yep. You can go online, and on the Let's Talk page, there's some links. There's a link to the e-plan. You can plug in an address. It takes a few minutes to open. You can plug in an actual address if you want to see it, and it will bring up the map.
Is there an overall map that shows the... Oh,
yeah, I mean, this is one
Yeah,
that I was going to talk about later, but this is just
So
a
you
specific
can-
area.
you can see that.
I didn't go
See
to...
the map online at an individual property
Yep.
level, and then you can zoom out and you get a sense of the overall scale of a zoning in a particular area. I think the issue that you raised, Mark, about, well, what was it like before, is more problematic because the old plan was not very digital. It was a PDF kind of map. This is more interactive, more flexible. But if you are wanting to know, well, what was the zoning before, then do ask a planner, and they will tell you.
So if you go and you look at that and then you're not happy with it, you could put a submission in to
Correct.
Yeah.
either...
Correct.
Yep.
Yes.
So
yeah.
if you
and
think
you've got
that-
till, I think, the 26th of
And, and
November?
individuals can do that as well, so
Correct.
if they think
Yes.
that...
anyone, and you can make a submission on any property you like. It's a quirk of the New Zealand planning system that I could object to the rezoning in Kaitaia, and my submission will be duly considered.
That was what the workshop that I didn't go to was about, wasn't it? Oh. So are we planning to put submissions in?
Yeah, I was going to talk about that at the end, but literally, Kay's pulled together the notes from that workshop. Kay and I have had a meeting with Trevor Ellis and Mark Butley to ask some specific questions, so to clarify some things. we'll get something out to you, but yeah, I'll expand on that a bit later, it's probably easier. So yes, we've got the proposed district plan, so yes, please refer people to a planner, you know, if you're not sure, if they've got questions, the planning guy, you know, team, they've been wonderful, they have made themselves extremely available. So we've got the consultation project on e-scooters, which the trial is underway, and the district parking strategy, which I have had a quick look at, but that's about it.
We can go online through in the office, just to make you envious if you possibly would be, and on the Flamingo site, and see what the daily traffic is, and then pull up a map to see where people are travelling. So we will, as the trial progresses, sort of produce that information. Yep. And I think over the weekend we had our first Rangiora to Woodend scoot.
Who was it?
We can tell you who too. No, I just. Well, we've got a sweep on for that, but no, so far.
I've got my numbers. That's where they were all around the end. They seem to disappear. You know, they were strategically put when they first started, which is what they do.
Yeah.
And they're not there, so they.
It's really a question of they'll put the scooters where the pattern is beginning to emerge. I mean, in one sense, they're wanting to maximise the revenue of the scooters, so they'll put more where they see there is a greater propensity to use. But it's still a trial across all of the centres. So, I think it's gone been introduced with a lot less anxiety than I might have thought in the community, because we were certainly right at the beginning. There was a sense of a little bit of trepidation about how will they be received in this community with all of the negative marketing that has happened with these scooters. But I think, to be fair to Flamingo, and I'm not pushing them particularly, but I think the companies have learnt an awful lot in the last year or so about how to do this and how to work with councils, and we've been really pleased with their attitude. There's nothing that we can do to stop e-scooters being put out there. They're legal. But so the fact that they're working with us, we think is really positive.
Do you know how many they've actually got in circulation? Because it's up to 400.
It was up to 400 as the trial, yeah, I think so.
But I just wondered how many they actually...
I'm not sure.
Because that was one of my concerns, was just a sheer number of them.
And
if it was 400.
The new operator in town,
Yeah.
Sorry, go John.
Just a question, Simon. Just curious, am I allowed to park my car on the footpath, the car that I share with Dorothy? Is that... I'm just curious about the legality of scooters, both here and in other cities. I was in another city over the weekend and curious to see them. Just how does that arise?
Let's put feedback into the district parking strategy.
Yeah. So I think your car is a registered motor vehicle, or I hope it's registered, and there are motor vehicle regulations.
Yes,
okay. And e-scooters are not covered by that.
Yeah.
So I guess there's the swings and roundabouts of it in terms of us as a community getting used to a much wider range of mobility devices, e-bikes, e-scooters. You see mobility scooters are becoming more lean, faster. So we're going to have to, we've only got the same amount of road reserve. We're going to have to try and manage more and more devices and more use of diverse devices. The thing that really gets me is those guys who've got the hand-controlled skateboards, and they're whizzing along, at 25 kilometres an hour. So, sorry, I'll shut up in a minute. But we are waiting for a response. There was a consultation last year during COVID with Ministry for Transport around the regime for a lot of these new devices, and the potential to set speed restrictions and the like. 15 kilometres, I think, is the limit there. So we were a little trepidatory about launching the trial before that is in place, but we had an operator who was prepared to trial it in the district, and it is a trial. We don't have to accept their proposition at the end of it, but if all going well, then it becomes an accepted part of the community.
Thanks for that, Simon. Right, the board funding update, we've got the balances there. We haven't spent anything tonight, so media, I'll come up with something. No questions under standing orders, no urgent general business. So I would declare this meeting closed, with the next meeting scheduled for 6 p.m. on Monday the 13th of December here. So thank you very much, and that